Welcome to another episode of the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. This week, the Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment, Kwesi Devines, addresses the media.
Let me also take this opportunity to extend condolences, first and foremost, to the Richards family and, by extension, the people of Trinidad and Tobago on the passing of the former president. Of course, he was a great man, a true Trinbagonian in every right. And I really endorse the statements of the Prime Minister. And he spoke about George Maxwell Richards really being a lover of Tobago culture. And I really want to join in celebrating his life and his contribution to Trinidad and Tobago. I really want to endorse the statements and join in the national community in mourning. And of course, it's quite ironical that we would have appointed a new president and lost one. And he is a true treasure, and I know that his legacy will live on. I would like to say that this morning we commenced an orientation session, an orientation process under the URP program and the Unemployment Relief Program. Of course, this is part of a revised or a new policy that the Executive Council would have adopted for the operations of URP. Now we are very mindful that the Unemployment Relief Program has been going sometimes under different types of mandates, but we would have recognized after doing the analysis that we need to do a lot more to ensure that we get more productivity out of the program, one, it's more effective, two, and that it's able to really improve the livelihoods of Tobagonians. And this is from the point of view of both the persons who are in the program and persons in the communities. So what we are doing, the program went through its annual closure, and when workers come back out, there will be a verification process which starts next week. And that verification process, of course, we are ensuring that persons are bona fide employees of the URP program and are not attempting to or are benefiting from another THA salary, so to speak. So we are ensuring that the program is meeting the needs of those who really need the program. You may be well aware that the allocation for URP for this fiscal year was reduced from $20 million to $18 million. So the reality is we have to make some serious decisions to ensure that the program is efficient and we get productivity, because people always speak about who is going to bail the cat, and we go on and we ask to increase accountability and so on. And now we have an opportunity to really increase the accountability of persons in the URP program. We want to ensure that persons that are working from 7 to 11, and we want to also ensure that persons are exposed to the requisite training. So anyone who is verified as a bona fide employee will have to select from a number of different programs, be it welding, masonry, joinery, and so on. And they will be exposed to these hard skills as well as other soft skills, life skills management, even workplace management, and so on, so that they're able to really contribute to the wider Tobago economy. And that's really what we want. We want persons in the program to be so empowered that they feel it necessary to move out and start contributing to the economy of Tobago and their communities on their own without the URP program. So we really want to empower persons. We are forming stronger links with the Division of Education so that there is capacity building, and persons are certified, which is one of the things I was missing from the program previously. So persons are now going to be certified in these skills. We are also forming stronger links with the BDU as we look towards getting persons started in entrepreneurship where possible. Because, believe it or not, Tobagonians can be very enterprising. And as long as we have persons who are skilled, because we do have some of the more skilled persons in the URP program, just going to the furniture workshop in URP, and persons will tell you they get some of the best furniture out of the URP furniture workshop. And we want to be able to build the capacity so that these persons can move on to have their own woodworking shops and furniture workshops and so on. So I'm really pleased with the approach that we have adopted so far, and I'm sure Tobagonians will feel a lot more rewarded, because one of the things that we are looking at in particular is how can the URP program be of more use to the communities. And we would have had some initial conversations with the Self-Help Commission, and we're looking towards a system where once persons have material, we can provide labor. Of course, there will be certain prerequisites that will be in place, but once persons can provide the material, we can provide skilled labor for persons in different communities around Tobago. And I think as we move towards making URP useful, relevant, and productive, we should definitely make serious strides in this regard. So the orientation today would have focused a lot on the processes, because we are increasing the accountability in URP. So supervisors now will be guided by handbooks. There's an employee handbook now. There are forms for requisition of material, material management, equipment management, and so on, so that we are better able to account for the material, the equipment, the resources of URP. So this is the direction in which we are going under this program. Of course, we're also looking at, in the future, how can we improve the purchase product section under URP. We know that people are buying the concrete products, the benches and the flower pots and so on. So we're looking to improve that, because again, people do buy a lot from this program. So we want to be able to ramp it up, market it accordingly, so that we can generate income. And I think when people start generating income and realizing the potential of what we're doing in URP, they'll be so inclined to start enterprises of their own. Similarly, in the agricultural section, we are looking at ways of making the agricultural program a lot more robust and able to contribute there. And the furniture workshop, as I mentioned previously. We are looking into as well under our environment program, seeing how we could form that nexus when we start talking about mangrove rehabilitation and replanting, that we can look at how can URP labor be so assigned to assist in this process. As I spoke about the mangrove, I just want to say coastal protection is high on the priority for 2018 for the Division of Infrastructure. Last year, we would have done work at Hanging Down, that major revetment at Hanging Down in Roxborough. The Milford Road, we know, is a perennial issue, and although you may not see it yet, for example, the bridge is going to be a lot higher. The Lambo River Bridge is going to be a lot higher, and the designs for the other bridges, the Thompson River and Signal Hill River bridges are a lot higher, as we look to make that coastline in particular more resilient. But I'm pleased to say that yesterday we had persons from the Coastal Protection Unit of the Ministry of Works here in Tobago working with our technocrats in Tobago, our coastal engineer or climate change specialists. And they would have met at Pigeon Point Heritage Park, because we know that Pigeon Point Heritage Park is the best all-day beach in the Caribbean, and it really is one of our local gems. And rising sea levels and so on are really, climate change, as was mentioned earlier, have really had a telling impact on Pigeon Point, the beach itself. And it's almost scary to think that a generation or two from now may not know Pigeon Point. And we really have to find ways to ensure that we preserve and protect our heritage. And we're starting with the Pigeon Point Heritage Park. There would have been studies done previously, and we're comparing with some of the data that we would have collected over the last couple of years in the Department of Environment. And we're now collating that with the expertise that has been lent us from the Coastal Protection Unit in Trinidad. And this will be one of our focus areas as we get our Coastal Management Unit up and running. We have to have an integrated coastal zone management plan for Tobago. That's something that we don't have as yet. And it's one of the achievements we're looking to get under our belt in 2018. The cost that would have been, or the expenditure that would have been projected or estimated, I should say, for rehabilitation of the Pigeon Point Beach under previous Smith and Warner study quite astronomical, so it means that we will have to seek alternative financing, whether through public-private partnership or through grant funding. But we are not going to sleep on this. This is something that we're going to go after seriously, because we have to protect our 116 square miles of island paradise, and it begins with our coastlines coming all the way in. It does not, however, take away from the responsibility of Tobagonians, because it is quite, I don't know if you could call it coincidental, that as the Boko Reef continues to dwindle, the impact of rising sea level on Pigeon Point is increasing as well. And it means, yes, we can control global warming. Yes, we can control the impact of rising sea levels, but we can control some of our habits, the amount of pollutants or nutrients that are entering the beach, the bay area or seas. I got a complaint from someone, an operator recently, about even nylon pools shrinking in acreage because the seagrass beds are growing because of the amount of nutrients that are getting into the water. And of course, it means then that we could also lose another one of our natural attractions. And this is because of our indiscriminate habits, pollutants getting into our waters. So we have to take a very strong approach to that. So we really are moving forward to ensure that we can manage the coastal zone in Tobago. In terms of the waste oil management approach, we look forward to October 2018, when Tobago will have in operation the nation's first waste oil processing plant. And I will repeat that. October 2018, we are aiming to have the country's first, the very first waste oil processing plant here in Tobago. We are looking, of course, at the Cove Eco-Industrial Park as the location. The island stands to generate some $8 million in revenue annually from this initiative. And of course, it would mean that we have a responsibility to do some marketing for the hydraulic oil products, and of course even the base oil products that the plant will be able to generate. I must say special thanks to the Basel Convention Research Center. They would have been working very assiduously on this project to ensure that we realize the gains that we have seen so far. That is the Basel Convention Regional Center. And we really are appreciative of the work that has been done so far. As a matter of fact, after the last meeting with them, we are even looking at what we can do to clean up some of the waste oil that has already leaked into some of our the soil in some areas. So we are looking at medium to short to medium and even long-term solutions to our waste oil challenges. Of course, we now stand to be a producer of repurposed oil right here in Tobago. Of course, it would mean that our hydraulic oils needs can be met. So all of the tractors, excavators, and so on, we can produce oil that can be used in these vehicles right here in Tobago. And this is for the entire construction sector in Trinidad and Tobago, once we do the right type of marketing. So we stand to really make those types of gains. Previously, we would have spoken about our drive towards having the Northeast Tobago, of course, centered around the main ridge, as designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I'm pleased to say that we would have engaged a consultant who will be doing the technical writing. That's the Environmental Research Institute of Charlottesville, an NGO based in Charlottesville. And they do have the requisite expertise, and as I would have indicated previously, they are bringing on another consultant who would have worked on applications for UNESCO World Heritage Sites before. So I'm really pleased to have them on board, so that we can really be proud as Tobagonians. And this is something that is for the people of Tobago. I don't want us to ever lose sight of that the people of Tobago are the ones who stand to benefit from this, especially people in Northeast Tobago. because this is a fantastic branding opportunity for us. The corporate sector has responded very positively as well, so we expect to have a lot of support from them, and we look forward to the day when we can have Tobago designated, or Tobago being home to a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Studley Park Quarry and the Studley Park Enterprise Limited, I'm pleased to say that the months from November to December, we would have seen an increase in terms of 28,000 metric tons in the last year. What we are looking at so far already is a 200% increase in production as compared to last year's production rates. So we are seeing that the Studley Park Enterprise is yielding benefits already. In terms of the A&R Robinson Airport rehabilitation, the runway rehabilitation, we have already delivered over 13,000 metric tons of material for this project, and will continue to deliver at a very reliable and quick rate. And this, of course, we have moved from a staffing of over 150 persons to less than a third of that staffing, and we're able to make these gains. The truckers are no longer lining up from the night before to get aggregate. They're now getting aggregate quickly, and there's aggregate on the ground. The division's needs are also being met quite quickly as well, so we're able to get some work done. We look forward to getting Daniel Trace off the road, doing the rehabilitation of Daniel Trace in Camby starting next week. And we've been able to I've witnessed them getting the material personally, of course, getting material quite quickly. And we're looking at really ramping up our production and looking further into other methods of exporting the aggregate. So I'm actually meeting with the board on Monday, and they're going to bring me up to date on some of their progress. We're looking at alternative types of barges that can self-stabilize, and this will be very important for when those major infrastructure projects, the highway projects, the Toko Port and so on, get underway in Trinidad, that we can provide aggregate from right here in Tobago to Trinidad. As I would have indicated earlier, because of the pronouncements of, or the mischievous pronouncements of the minority, some persons would have expressed concern with the aggregate, wondering if it was illegally produced, and we are now working on allaying those fears, so that we really have to be careful sometimes about what we put out there. We really have to validate and verify some of these things, because these reckless statements by the minority will continue to backfire. And as we speak about the minority, I really want to set the record straight as the leader of Assembly Business. And I have here with me the standing orders, and I really want to be very clear. And I'm looking under, and I will say page 47 of the standing orders, arrangement of public business, and this is section 30 and number 4. On the 4th Thursday of every 3rd month, private members' business shall take precedence over assembly business, unless and to the extent that the leader of assembly business moves and the assembly agrees that any urgent executive council matters should be disposed of before private member business. And I want us to just take this in. It means that every 4th Thursday of every 3rd month is private members' day, which means that the minority has the obligation and the right to bring forward whatever motion they want every 3rd Thursday, every 3rd month. It means that no one interferes with that. So I'm really disturbed by a man who professes to be a madman could come out and say that somebody or they change or they postpone the sitting, when in fact that is a blatant untruth. And he's proving to be nothing more than the king of fake news. And we have to be very careful when we start saying these things, because it's serious. This is serious business. And every time he opens his mouth, he's saying something either contradictory or completely untrue. And right here in black and white, and I could share it with you if you so desire, it means that he has gone about setting his own agenda I don't know where did he get the notion that somebody tried to delay any motion, because I can say a motion of no confidence by any opposition government in the Westminster system is not new. As a matter of fact, that's why you're the minority. You felt that you could be the government, so you don't have confidence in the other party. So that is not new. It has come over 20 times in the UK and failed on almost 95% of the time. And this one will fail as well. And I would say to Mr. Duke and the minority bench, when you're ready, bring it. You have the opportunity to bring any motion you want, whether it be no confidence or nonsense, as was done in the past. Bring it. And let us deal with it in the House. Because it's really disturbing that they will continue to propagate fake news in the manner that they are doing and almost bringing the legislature into disrepute. No one is imputing improper motives almost. And if it were in the House that he would have said something like that, the presiding officer would have had to rule. It is nothing more than fake news that he's talking about. Anyone has tried to delay anything when Private Members Day has always been, is in black and white, is in January. He would have been the one to do a book report on the standing orders, and he would be very familiar with this. So it is deliberately misleading for this self-professed madman to go out and say that we are attempting to stymie the minority by derailing or delaying any motion that they choose to bring. And I will say this in the House because I know I cannot be impeached on something like that. It is the truth, and again, they continue to propagate fake news, and I really want us to be very cognizant, especially in the media, what we are putting out there. Let us verify and validate. Who is the day that is being spoken about? Who is trying to delay or change their mind? Whatever it is the self-professed madman has said. Who is it they? We need to start asking the questions, clarify who is it they you're talking about. And to even go on to start speaking of unfortunate circumstances and speaking about, is it necromancy or whatever he's talking about? Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And it's really upsetting, honestly, when we are trying to execute the business of the people and you have someone who is nothing more than an upstart, a king of fake news and a self-professed madman making such ludicrous utterances and claims.
You said that the works to preserve Pigeon Point Heritage Park was really, the figures are astronomical and you'll seek outside funding. Exactly what were those figures?
Well, I said alternative funding, but there were several options. There was one option I can say, because I don't have the figures in front of me, that had gotten to as far as $90 million. Because they're looking at preserving the entire coastline from Storebay all the way up to Pigeon Point. So it had gotten as far as that. But there are several options on the table, so I'm waiting on the revised figures. And that's why I didn't quote the figures in this case, because I'm waiting on the revised figures so we'll be able to say with a matter of certainty what is the plan that we are going with and how much it's going to cost us.
Okay, and if you do in fact seek the alternative financing, will you be seeking the full amount?
It depends on what we are able to get, to be quite honest, whether it be through public-private partnership. You may know that the Finance Secretary would have spoken about it. There is now a PPP unit under the Division of Finance, so we can look at it. So it really depends. Tobago is ours, so if we have equity, we have to have equity or skin in the game, as they might say. So it really depends on what mode of financing we are able to go ahead with. And at that point, when we get to that juncture, we'll be able to say.
Okay. Yeah. Concerning the oil recycling plant,
yes.
You said that the island can look forward to a revenue of $8 million.
A potential revenue of $8 million.
Potential revenue, sorry, of $8 million. And you spoke about the repurposing of the waste oil to use for vehicles.
Yes.
Is this the source of the $8 million, or is that?
Yes, by selling the hydraulic oil. Once we repurpose the oil, we collect the waste oil, repurpose it. We are looking at a profit margin or income of potentially $8 million.
There was an article not too long ago with a woman who said she had to clean up Mount Irving Beach along with others based on a party they had there on New Year's Eve or All Year's Day or something to that respect. And because of the amount of garbage that they saw on the beach, they took it upon themselves to clean up the beach. Fast forwarding, they had a situation where a turtle had died because of the garbage. I'm not sure if you know about the article or you know about any incident like that, but I know last time in the town meeting we had in Mason Hall, there were some villagers who said that they brought their attention to having some litter wardens or some strategies that could be implemented to reduce these kinds of behavior. Yes, I know the litter starts with us and we are the cause of the garbage, but I wanted to find out, have you come up with any strategies in terms of litter wardens? Have it been seriously thought about? What are we doing about the garbage?
Well, I would say, though we may not have ruled out litter wardens, one of the things that we would have already started testing would be camera traps at the dumping sites. So we've used one type of camera that is not necessarily the best, but we were still able to get some very interesting footage that we'll be discussing with the police to see how we can execute on that. But we are moving towards acquiring or doing a couple of other pilots with different types of cameras to see how we can set these camera traps so when persons dump, we can have footage that we can turn over to the police. And there was, when I was much younger, probably before your time, there was the drive to chase Charlie away. And it's clear that Charlie is now living with us again, and we have to, and the division is looking to see how we can encourage Tobagonians to really chase Charlie from around us. So I'm happy for your concern, and I think the litter wardens might be part of the solution, but we're definitely looking at those camera traps as one of the initiatives. And we're going to roll out a closer relationship with the Environment Police to see how we can get things going on that.
And in an unrelated issue, a lady came to me. She's from Milford Court.
Yes.
And she said there is a sign that actually says illegal dumping or something to that extent, yes. Right? And she said the residents of Milford Court will come and bring their garbage there, and because she's living so close to it, the scent, it would just be so disturbing. So she came to me, I guess hoping to see if I could run a story on it, but more so, what do you think she should do? What is the next step if she's going through the process of asking her residents not to dump the garbage there because it affects her and her family? What is the next step that she should go through?
It seems that our no dumping signs seems to be magnets for dumping. I don't know if it's a joke that Tobagonians think that once you say no dumping sign, that is exactly where we need to dump. But I think the village councils in these cases should be very instrumental, because if it's in a community such as Milford Court, you know who the persons are. So I think the village council in particular could be that lobby group to start talking to people seriously. Now, if it is that the village council isn't working, then we see if we can get photo or video evidence, and dumping is a punishable crime. And we turn that information over to the police or the environmental police or whoever it is, make a report to the Department of Environment. And once there's someone who we can hold accountable, the person will be held accountable.
How many cameras do you have operational for your pilot?
Well, right now, in this first phase, what we would have done is partnered with the Division of Food Production, because a wildlife survey was conducted recently. And they had 2 camera traps that they would have used. So we only used those 2 camera traps on this occasion. However, we are soliciting proposals at this point in time to see how we can roll out pilots, of course. I would have had discussions. Actually, I went to an event in Trinidad, and I guess good news can travel fast at times. And the person came up to me, he recognized me, and he said, the camera traps, that would be a good initiative, and his company actually supplies those. And this person was living in Trinidad. So I guess they do pay attention to some things. And so we're looking at the different suppliers. I'm supposed to get a report on that by Friday, actually, to see where else we can roll out these pilots. And once we get a camera with the specifications that we want, of course, being easy to conceal, the kind of pixels that we want, night vision and so on, then we could roll out a much wider program. But for now, it's still in the pilot stage.
Thank you for staying with us for the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for the week ending January 13th, 2018.